welcome in everyone to the 8th episode of Craze's Corner. I hope you guys stay tuned for our winners of preseason. Each of us are going to be bringing you 3 winners, people who really are going to take that next step this season due to actions that happened in the preseason. But we're going to get into some news first. We're going to start off with the big news of the week. The Patriots have cut Cam Newton. This comes after Mac Jones won the job in training camp and in the preseason. If they feel Mac Jones is the quarterback for them, there's no way they could have kept Cam on his team, in my opinion. Cam he's unvaccinated, so that comes into play a little bit, I feel, if you put your starting quarterback at risk. Also, Cam Newton has that leadership role within the organization where players love working with him, and he's kind of a player's player. All the players love him, even though the media hates Cam Newton. The players want to play with him. And if you're going to have Cam Newton on that team, he's got to be the starting quarterback. And if they feel he's not the starting quarterback, this is the right way. It's good for Mac Jones. We're going to talk about him a little later. Then we have the J.K. Dobbins injury. He tore his ACL in the preseason. He's been placed on a season-ending IR. This is terrible for the Ravens. Is good for Gus Edwards. And some other running backs that might be able to emerge in Baltimore. But this is really unfortunate for J.K. Dobbins, who's really going to have his breakout year now. Mark Ingram is gone. And then we'll move on to our third story, which is the Irv Smith injury. He had surgery on his meniscus, and he could be out 6 to 8 months. They did, however, trade for Chris Herndon to be his replacement, which I loved. I feel like if you need to replace Irv Smith, he was going to kind of step up and be a third or fourth target in that offense. And without him, they definitely need someone that fill that void. And I think Chris Herndon can do that for them. What do you guys think of the Cam Newton situation here? Do you think he's going to sign with another team now? Do you think he's going to wait until the starting quarterback gets hurt and then kind of fill in that way? Let us know using the media app. It's a great way to communicate. You can make posts on there. It's a virtual press conferencing app. I use it all the time. It's good for fantasy football as well, so make sure you guys check it out on the App Store and Google Play. All right, now let's welcome in our 2 guests, Will and Jeff. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Zach. Good seeing you, man.
All right, let's get right into some winners of the preseason. Obviously, there's some guys every year that kind of the preseason sets them up for success. This year, I've picked out 3. You guys have each picked out 3 players we're going to discuss. I'm going to start with Mac Jones. I feel like Mac Jones kind of won the preseason. He won the starting job for New England, and Cam Newton, who is his main competition, is gone. I do think the team would have done better with Cam Newton at quarterback. But Bill Belichick wants to move forward with Mac Jones. He's got the weapons around him to succeed. He's coming from a system where it's a pro-ready system in Alabama. And obviously we know that Saban and Belichick are close. So they knew everything about him going into the draft. And if he's going to succeed, he's got to do decent this season. He's got to be above 8 wins for sure, or the Patriots fans are going to be throwing everything they can at this kid, trying to get him out of there. So he's really got to step up, especially now that Cam Newton's gone, because Brian Hoyer is not going to come in and win you any games, and he's not going to be able to bail you out any problems. I think Mac Jones can succeed in this offense, but he's not going to be the guy that wins you the games. I think that's been proven with other Alabama quarterbacks in the past. They tend to thrive in the system that works around them, but when you need them to be the system and be the guy that kind of goes out there and does everything themselves, they can't do it. So New England's the perfect place for that type of quarterback. So we'll see what happens. You guys have any takes on this Mac Jones, Cam Newton situation? I know Jeff does for sure.
Oh, I've got some takes. Will, I don't know. Do you want to go first?
No, I'm going to let you go because I know you're ready to go there.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. Mac Jones looked great. And, when we brought up this topic, winners and losers, he was definitely at the top of the list. But I think the thing that makes him a winner could make him a loser as well. He's still standing. He beat Cam, people will say, but you're still standing in the shadow of Tom Brady, a TB12. Mm-hmm. he reminded me a little bit, just the way he was moving, the way he threw the ball. I didn't want to make that comparison, but he looked like a quarterback that could work in that system. But my thing is, what people really didn't really come up that much. If you watch that last preseason game, everybody knows the way to beat the Patriots is to have a defensive line that can get in there and cause pressure and hit the quarterback. That's how the Rex Ryan Jets used to beat the Patriots. That's how Denver, when they finally broke through and went to the Super Bowl, that's how you beat them with Tom Brady. I saw this dude actually stand back there, and when that pocket collapsed, he had some problems. This is preseason. Mm-hmm. We saw vanilla defenses. So I know Belichick is a genius. Even you got Genius Jr. and the offensive coordinator, Josh, whatever his name is. Yeah, Josh Daniels, But when they start seeing a real pass rush, I wonder what's going to happen. We're going to see how smart Mac Jones is. I know, Alabama, he is a great quarterback, smart guy. Looks like he can handle that offense. But Alabama had a pro level offensive line, man. So I just want to see, the Patriots do have a great line, but when they face some teams like the Buffalo Bills that has an awesome pass rush, when they face, let's see what Robert Saleh does with the Jets defensive line. This is what I want to see when they end up having to play, face Pittsburgh and TJ Watt. I want to see how good this kid is going to be. I'm sure Bill's going to coach him up, but, for everybody saying how great he looked during the preseason, you just want to be like it's preseason. You're not seeing a bunch of stunts. You're not seeing a bunch of set pressures on this guy. You're not seeing a bunch of exotic blitzes and things like that. So that, just like you said, this thing, he could be a huge winner if he does show up to at least get these guys over 500. But if he's going in those first 5 games and they're like 3-2, people are going to be like, man, did we make a mistake by letting Cam go?
Yeah, I think. Okay. Yeah, we'll let you go, Will, and then I'll go back.
So the 2 most overrated quarterback colleges in the country are Alabama and USC. just be blunt. Great on Saturdays, butt fumbles on Sunday. That's just the reality of it, right? Now the question to me is, like, we're talking about the biggest winners. So is Belichick just playing with the NFL now? I mean, I'm starting to wonder, like, he's so bored with the NFL that he just says, you know what, I'm going to pick the worst squad I can possibly pick, and I'm going to see if I can win. Because when I have good players, it's too easy. Because I don't understand this decision at all. And I'm going to say this, and it'll kill me to say it. The Bears are playing their quarterback situation way better than what New England just did. And I think there's a little bit of arrogance with New England. And I do wonder if we'll be sitting here 17 weeks from now, 18 weeks from now, wondering that Kraft decided to make a change in coaching. Because, I'll be honest with you. I look at that coaching tree. Everybody that leaves that organization as a head coach comes back. They're never successful. It's no knock on – you can't argue with Belichick's wins, the Super Bowl wins. I mean, look, honestly could argue the greatest NFL coach all time. But I don't think his lineage is strong. I don't think, honestly, he's making good decisions anymore. Because I don't understand this decision. Who does he turn? If Jones struggles, who the heck do they turn to?
They don't. It's going to be Jones the entire season.
So now here comes a problem for the Patriots. Now maybe the Patriots are bold enough to be a franchise that no other franchise would do this. So let's say Jones is horrible. Let's say they go 4-13. Are they drafting another quarterback in the first round, or are they doubling down with Jones? And this is where I'm saying, if I'm Robert Kraft, I'm ready to get this guy gone. Actually, I may try to trade him.
Rodgers.
But see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Just like you were saying, Will, that you can't deny, that he might be the best coach of all time. if he does not win this season, or if he does not get to the playoffs with this kid that he handpicked and got rid of Cam Newton for, there is going to be a huge asterisk on his legacy now. All of that talk about him being the greatest coach is out the window, because now it's like, no, you just have the greatest quarterback, and you have struggled since he left.
Especially if Cam goes to a team mid-season. Carson Wentz goes down with injury. Cam Newton starts for the Colts, and the Colts make it farther in the season than the Patriots do. Because that's something I can see happen. I don't think Cam's going to sign anywhere now. I expect him to wait. Starting quarterback's going to go down. Matt Ryan, Colts, Carson Wentz might go down. Even Big Ben. There's a few guys who could go down, and Cam could come in. He still get that rushing ability, even if his arm's not what it was. And I think that's what New England's going to be missing out on now, is everything Cam brought on the ground last year.
Exactly.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the offense works now. McDaniels is going to be able to cater it to Mac Jones. So we'll see how that works out, because in the preseason it was still Cam's team. But what you said with the Bears are handling their quarterback situation better than the Patriots, I think that's because midway through, even a few games through the season, if Dalton's not doing well, you can easily give that team to Fields. Whereas 3 games into the season, if Cam Newton's not doing well, it's going to be harder to give that team to Mac Jones because of the player and the personality that Cam Newton brings. You would have to cut him then. So if they really, truly feel that Mac Jones won that job, I think that's the only move that makes sense for them there. Let's move on from this. We'll go to Will's first breakout player, Matthew Stafford. Let's move into Matt over here.
Just watching Detroit handle the cut of their roster the last week, if I'm Matthew Stafford, I am so happy that they traded me. It might be the best, from the player's perspective, trade in the offseason. Because if you're Matthew Stafford, can you imagine dealing with this new coaching staff and the way they're handling the structure of the team right now? If I was Matthew Stafford and I was still in the Lions, I'd probably start holding out right now. But he didn't have to do that. He got traded to the Rams. The Rams look like they have their stuff together this year. Sorry, Jeff. But I just think they're going to be a good – they're a 10-11 win team with a healthy Matthew Stafford, if not more. So, but Matthew Stafford with the current Lions, nah, he'd be like Jared Goff, maybe 4 wins, maybe 5, depending on what happens in the season. Would we really be shocked if the Lions went 0-17? So my first winner is just Matthew Stafford being away from that disaster by the disaster in Michigan that is now and has been, unfortunately, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I think it's great for him to be in LA. That's where he's in a position now where he can succeed. He didn't really have that at any point throughout his career other than having Megatron. The defense was never great, and that's what he's got now in LA. And just even the wide receiver situation in Detroit right now is abysmal. They have Tyrell Williams. They drafted St. Brown. But they caught Rashad Perriman, who was probably the second best receiver on the team there. So really now on the outside, they have Tyrell Williams, and then they have a couple guys who can make something do in the slot. But outside of that, they're really kind of putting themselves in a position where they aren't winning now, that's for sure.
Yeah. So why not trade Goff? I mean, if I was Detroit, if this was your strategy, just move Goff. And maybe they will. Maybe when someone gets hurt and desperate, maybe they're going to move Goff, because this seems like a team that's tanking. It seems like to me a team that's going to complete rebuild.
Perfect quarterback to start for a team that's going to tank. Perfect quarterback for that.
I mean, you're looking at the wide receivers, which, wait a minute, they just signed Trinity Benson, a guy that got cut from the I guess it was a trade. He didn't necessarily get cut.
Yeah.
But he was going to get cut from the Broncos, and they ended up trading him to Detroit. Everybody's looking at the wide receiver. I'm looking at the backfield, man. You don't know what's going on with Swift. I don't trust Jamal Williams, man. He is, to me, I mean, he is not somebody that I'm like, okay, this is my starter right here at the running back position. It's like they're just trying stuff. Almost like when you get down to the late rounds in fantasy, you're just grabbing guys trying to see if they'll work out, man. I don't know what is going on with this team, man. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe they'll surprise us all.
We're going to see they have an interesting head coach in Dan Campbell. We'll see what he brings being a tight ends coach. See what he brings to the Lions, if he's going to bring that mentality that, he has there.
He's gonna bite their knees off. That's what he said he's gonna do. They're gonna bite their knees off.
I'm not quite sure Jared Goff's that kind of guy that's gonna go start biting people's knees off. But yeah, I think this team, they got Goff in the trade. That way, if he works out, he turns that he can do something with this team, they can keep him, and if not, they'll end up cutting him because no one's gonna trade for him right now. I don't think he has any trade value whatsoever. That contract is terrible.
Yeah, that contract's terrible.
And he was thrown in as a negative aspect because the Rams did not want him. The Rams had to get rid of him. So I think the Lions are probably the second worst team in the NFL, opposite the Houston Texans, who are probably worse without Deshaun Watson. So let's move on.
I think Houston beats Detroit. If they I don't know if they play each other, but if they do, I think Houston beats Detroit.
That's a bet. That's a bet.
That's a bet.
I'd put my money on Detroit still over Houston. Houston has nothing. But we'll see. Maybe Tyrod Taylor's gonna ball out, and then he'll get hurt, and it'll be Davis Smith.
Woohoo!
Let's move on to Jeff's first guy here, Gus the Bus Edwards.
Get on the bus, man. I'm like, this guy seems like he's been. It's funny when you hear Harbaugh talk about him. Like, this dude could. I trust this guy basically with my kids, with the football. He's like, this guy is such a reliable running back. He could be a starter somewhere else. So I'm like, dude, now it's your time to show. This guy has been stuck kind of in running back purgatory, if you will. He's usually the you're looking at him like a 1A, 1B, or 1C. They have Mark Ingram and Dobbins. He was still getting carries, and quite a few of them. So now it's just like, do you really need all of these running backs, especially when your quarterback is your main running back? So it's like you got 4 starting running backs. Finally, just cut it down so one guy can go ahead and at least be dominant, for the first 3 downs. So now we get to see truly what Gus can do. He can audition pretty much. If he can handle the rock and handle the load and everything, who knows? Maybe he can go ahead and command a team signing him. Maybe he'll end up being the next Mike Davis, where a team that's looking for a running back is, instead of drafting somebody, I'm just going to take this dude. Seems like he rarely gets hurt. He can tote the rock. He can catch. Let's go ahead and give him a try. So this is a big, big audition for him. And, he's set up because he's on a running team. So everybody has always known that while he was in the game, he was going to get carries. He was going to get the ball. So,
he's averaged 5 yards. 5 yards per carry throughout his career. 5.2 yards, I believe it is. He had 5 yards 5 yards per carry last year. And I think he's kind of being slept on because obviously he's the third running back behind. Or he's even been the 4th running back, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson. So this is really his kind of time to shine. I got him before the J.K. Dobbins injury in my money league in fantasy football. So I think this is going to be good for him this season. It's just going to hope that the Ravens don't bring in another running back. And because they have the talent to just work from within with Justice Hill still behind him and Williams, the rookies there. So they have still 3 running backs that can get it done, especially with Lamar Jackson out of the backfield as well. I'm excited to see what Gus Edwards can do because he's never really had this chance. But I think this can be his year.
See, that boggles my mind, though. When you think about it, they have all these running backs, but yet they still bringing in Todd Gurley earlier. What are you bringing him in for, man? You've got a stable of running backs already, I don't know. Maybe they just feel, they realize we are a running team, so if somebody goes down, we better make sure we got enough guys.
I think reports came out.
Yeah, reports came out that they were fantasy thing that you do, load up with running backs, and they're really doing it for real.
Yeah.
For real game.
Reports came out that they weren't happy with his physical condition when they brought him in back earlier, so I don't think Todd Gurley's going to be an option for that team. If they do decide to bring in another running back, a guy I would love to see them bring in is Duke Johnson. He used to play for the Browns and the Texans. I think he would complement Gus Edwards well, being that receiving back. I think that would also help Lamar Jackson a little bit too. So if I'm the Ravens, that's the guy I'm bringing in to be another running back. I don't think he takes away from Gus Edwards at all. He could still be the first and second down back and have Duke Johnson coming on third downs. Take some of the pressure off Lamar Jackson, give him that check down back who's really good out of the backfield. But that's what I would do.
Yeah.
They've
like
tossed around
backs. As long as Justice Hill, I know he's hurt right now, so
Mhm.
you know, as long as he's coming back, you got 3 running backs on, and I think they kept a fullback as well. So it's just like, you've got enough guys that can tote the rock on your roster, you know, plus your quarterback. So
there you go.
And a great backup quarterback. That kid was killing it in that last preseason. It was preseason, but I was like, he actually, to me, threw the ball better than Lamar Jackson. So,
I mean, how hard is that though? I think there's probably 40 quarterbacks in the NFL who can throw a ball better than Lamar Jackson, probably even more. So
I love Lamar too. Don't let me stop because I actually like Lamar. Lamar, if you got to see this man, I love you.
We all love you, Lamar.
Yes.
Just you got to tighten that ball up just a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he's got to work on it a little bit, but it can be fixed. Let's move on to my second player here, another running back who I think's been put into a really good situation. He was traded for recently. I'm talking about Sony Michel, the former Patriot, now Los Angeles Ram. I think he's in the perfect situation, being in the Sean McVay offense, to be the 1B, even 1A, depending on how Henderson does, as Henderson struggled with injuries in the past. We could see Sony Michel being the number 1 running back on that team halfway through the season easily. And I think on the Rams team with a really good defense, I think that's a valuable role to have, especially for fantasy football. And I believe in the talent of Sony Michel. I think he's a really good running back. He was a New England Patriot, and that never works out well for any running backs as of late. They seem to just go through running backs left and right. No one ever gets the chance to be the guy. But I think Sony Michel gets the chance to be that guy this year behind a decent offensive line and a really good passing offense. With that defense, they're not going to be down by 17 points very often, so they're going to be able to establish the run early. And I think Sony Michel can pair well with Darrell Henderson. And then when Henderson gets hurt, which we've seen in the past, Sony Michel could be the number 1. He can see most of the carries. And I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was for him on a personal player perspective, that might be the best trade for a running back during the post training camp, right? I mean, if I'm him, I'm thinking, oh wow, I'm really going to touch the ball. I'm really going to get used because, like Jeff was saying earlier, you don't know what Patriots are going to do with a running back. No. I mean, it's not even like the hot hand gets the ball. Right. It's almost like they're randomly drawing names out.
Names of that?
Yeah, it's so frustrating, especially from a fantasy perspective, right? You're like, I don't even want to touch any of those running backs. Kind of like how Buffalo's become now. You don't know what the heck to do with Buffalo. Like who's starting?
Except New England had really good running backs, and they just kind of pick and chose. Buffalo doesn't quite have that. New England.
Well, we don't know what Buffalo has, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, but when you look at the Patriots running backs, they've had LeGarrette Blount, James White. Those are some really, really good specialist type running backs.
Yeah. And then they'll bring in Rex Burkhead to get 4 touchdowns.
Oh no, he's on the Texans now, so he'll be.
I know.
He'll be him, Mark Ingram, Phillip Lindsay, David Johnson. That's an interesting backfield in Houston. They're bringing the Patriots away to Houston with their GM there. Well,
they definitely are. But
they've got some talent at running back, but that's about the only place they have talent. And when you have a terrible defense, running back's not going to help you much. Let's move on to Will's second player, Jordan Love, another quarterback. Will's loving the quarterbacks this episode.
It's kind of like Matthew Stafford got liberated. If I'm Jordan Love, we didn't have a bad preseason. Didn't have a great preseason, but didn't have a bad preseason. If I was him, it's the biggest exhale in the NFL. Because can you imagine him having to start in a 17-game season and Aaron Rodgers is playing for Denver? I think they would have ruined it. I'll be honest with you. I think his career would have been done unless he just put up, I was going to say huge numbers. I don't even know if he could put up huge numbers, right? Because right. So now I think the Packers did the smart thing, and thank God. And Jordan Love should be very thankful that they swallowed their pride a little bit and made this deal with Aaron to let him play for one more year, and then they're obviously going to move him after this year. It's just like Jeff was saying. You live in the shadow of these great quarterbacks. It's just hard to come behind them, and Green Bay's not really a forgiving place. Everybody wants to talk about Green Bay, such a great place. Really, fans are great for Green Bay, but if you're not winning, especially the quarterback position, they've had 30 years of Hall of Fame level quarterbacks, and it's just not fair to Jordan Love. And I think Jordan Love could be a good quarterback, maybe a great quarterback. I'm not sure it's going to be in Green Bay, but at least they give him a fighting chance next year, because he at least now has to think every week, I better be getting ready for next season because it's all going to be on me.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I don't think he's quite ready yet either. But that's what they did with Aaron Rodgers. They let him sit, and then once he was ready, they let him take over that team. And I think that's what's important for quarterbacks, especially when they need to be developed. And they're not pro ready. And I think that's something that holds some quarterbacks back in the league now, is that they're just forced in. You're playing, you're starting. And I think that hurts some players. Also, that's good for some players, depending on the player style. But Jordan Love definitely needs to sit behind Aaron Rodgers again this year. So I think that's great for him.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Jeff's next player, the tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles.
My man, Zach Ertz. And
Jamie traded yet?
I'm about to trademark or copyright that. Hurts to Ertz. That's it, baby. And that's the reason why he's a winner, because Jalen Hurts probably isn't going to be able to hit any of those wide receivers that he has. So basically, his two tight ends are basically his wide receivers. So you got Hurts and Goddard, but I actually think that Hurts came back with a real fire to prove that he was one of the top tight ends in the game, that he should be regarded up there, maybe not right next to Kelsey, but at a time he was, I thought it was one of the first ends that I would take, in fantasy, 3-4 years ago. But he came back leaner. I think he's fully healthy, and he's got a fire in him, man. In preseason, he looked great. He looked like the old Zach Ertz. And he's in the perfect place, because that's what I'm saying. You just don't know. I like Devonta Smith. I just don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to be a guy that they're going to let rip the ball, downfield to any of these wide receivers. He's going to be right there to his tight ends. And now you're going to have to watch Goddard. And if you do that, I think Hurts is going to kill you. So, I just think he's in a great position. I don't think he's going to be traded now. And that's why I think he's a winner, because I think he proved during the preseason that it's worth keeping him and not moving him. Because if he still came in kind of on a down note like he was last year, though he's playing due to some injuries and things, I think they would have gotten rid of him. It's going to be hard with this contract and everything, but I think that he proved that he's still an asset to that offense. So, to me, he's a winner. To me, I think he's going to thrive. I think he might even get a little bit more than Dallas Goedert this year as well.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
he had the chip on his shoulder because no one wanted to trade for Zach Ertz. There's a couple teams who had interest, but no one was pulling the plug. And I think Zach Ertz kind of realized that people don't see him the same way they saw him 2-3 years ago.
Right.
So he's going to have to prove himself.
But there has been. Let's just say there has been interest from teams for Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
The problem for the Philadelphia is that the rest of the NFL believes that Philadelphia has no leverage on this deal, so they're not coming in at the offers that Philly, rightfully or wrongfully, thinks it's his second round pick or a third round pick. No one's given up that for Zach Ertz with that contract and where he is in his career, right? But I think Jeff's point is very valid because I actually think his trade value becomes way more valuable for Philly 6 weeks from now. And if he does get traded, he probably gets traded to a contender that's trying to find a missing piece near the trade deadline.
The Bills.
Especially with the 17 weeks. It could be the Bills. Could be.
It'll be the Bills.
Could be Tampa Bay, depending on how their tight ends.
Nah, they got Howard, Brady, Gronk. I don't think.
Yeah, but those guys aren't the most healthiest group either. So if you lost one of them, let's say Gronk goes down, because it's not Gronk from 10 years ago. If Gronk went down and was out for the season, I think Ertz, even though he probably didn't want it, it's going to work out to his advantage. That I think he's there for week 1. He puts up good numbers. I think he's gone by the trade deadline, though.
Yeah, I think he might stay. As we saw, like teams had interest, but no one wanted to give up that second, third round pick, and I don't think they're going to trade him for anything less because he's still an important part to the offense, which I think we're going to see as the season progresses. That he's going to be the number 1, number 2 target. Him and Dallas Goedert.
Exactly.
So, but we'll see what happens there.
That NFC East, there's not. Well, I don't know. Do we really? The Cowboys' defense will be a feast for the Eagles.
But
Washington,
the Cowboys have some good
Giants,
and they have a really good young linebacker core, and I think that especially a guy like Keanu Neal can
there's potential there.
But
if the Cowboy games all season are 35-28, 35-31, is anyone going to be shocked?
No.
I'm
saying for Zach Ertz, I think the tight ends, are going to be a little harder in the NFC East than people might think because of the linebacking cores that the Giants and Washington also have. But for the wide receivers, when they're playing Dallas.
That's true.
Washington and New York have great secondaries as well.
I think it'll be an interesting year in the NFC East.
Yeah, it's going to be
out of it. Week 17, all 4 teams are going to be alive.
Maybe not the Eagles. I think the other 3 could be alive. I don't know about the Eagles. I'm out on their defense right now, and I'm out on their offense as well. Not sure Jalen Hurts, Gardner Minshew, either of them can get it done the way they need to with the injuries that they have every year. But let's move on to my next guy, Juwan Johnson, the tight end for the New Orleans Saints. I think he's really emerged this preseason. I thought the tight end was going to be Adam Troutman. He obviously hasn't really shown out in the preseason. He got hurt as well, which leaves Johnson in a perfect opportunity to emerge as the tight end 1. Nick Vanette's also been hurt, so he could very well be the healthiest tight end come week 1. And in an offense that is down Michael Thomas for now, they'll have Jeff's next guy, which we're going to talk to in a second here. But I think Johnson can emerge as the third target. Same arguments I've been giving for Adam Troutman in the preseason. But now that Johnson's kind of outperformed Troutman and Troutman's hurt, all signs are pointing up. He's looked great in the preseason. And Jameis Winston has also looked great so far early. He was an argument to be one of my winners from the preseason that they've committed to Jameis Winston being the starting quarterback for now. And I'm excited to see what Jameis Winston can do in this offense because we know he can throw for a lot of yards. And Johnson can see some of those yards. Let's also talk about Jeff's guy while we're here, Marquez Callaway. I'll let you take this away here, Jeff.
Well, both. Because I actually did a thing about Juwan Johnson as well, knowing that he actually is a wide receiver. He's a big guy. He's going to be faster, I think, than a lot of the linebackers that are going to be put on him. And he's got some good hands. But Marquez Callaway, I think he's going to be the number one guy. And I love guys. I call him a winner because I love guys that are confident in their skills and go out there and display it when the top guy goes down, where he's like, don't overlook me, because that's just exactly what everybody did. When Michael Thomas went down, they're like, well, they don't have any receivers. I wasn't high on Traquan Smith because I've seen what he can do, but I watched Marquez Callaway during the end of the year last year. When he went in there, he filled in admirably for guys that were missing, and you could just tell he was hungry, and he had some skill, man. And that first touchdown when he laid out for that, I didn't even think he caught the ball, man. And when they played it in slow motion, I mean, I was like, this dude, he's out here to prove something. And just by the fact that, like I was saying, Sean Payton knows receivers, and I also think that Sean Payton, he is trusting Jameis enough to let the ball loose. That tells you something about what he sees in Jameis. So both of those guys I'm very high on, because Jameis is going to be, I think, slinging the ball around. I think they're going to, the one loser I was thinking about could be Kamara. Maybe he's not going to get as many touches, but now I think it's going to free him up to where they're going to be able to run him all over the place, where he's going to be a receiver. He's going to be this and that. He's going to be running intermediate routes. I think Sean Payton's going to go get really crazy with the plays that he's calling and the plays that he's designed for this year, man. So, everybody was worried about Drew Brees not being there. You give Sean Payton a guy that can actually go downfield on a laser, on a rope, you can go ahead and tweak him to get away from those interceptions and make some good decisions. Man, I think some good things can happen. We'll see.
Yeah, and they've still got Taysom Hill there, which gives them the flexibility to call pretty much whatever they want. We're just going to have to see if Sean Payton gets the better of himself, because we all know he's going to have some crazy plays drawn up, and can the team execute? Because one time during the season, they're going to have Jameis throw a pitch out to Taysom Hill, and there's Marquez Callaway's going to be wide open downfield.
Exactly.
Can they execute? We'll have to see. But I think that there's some guys in New Orleans who can definitely emerge this season. I'm excited to watch Jameis play. Now let's move on. You're going to tell me?
It'll be interesting to see how the schedule disruption for them now. I mean, I just saw that they're going to have that game in Jacksonville, which was interesting. Outdoor game. I don't know why they didn't do the Cowboy Stadium, because it's an indoor game.
There's a concert. There's a concert going on. The day before or something like that. So that's the reason why the Cowboy Stadium wasn't available.
And I get not going to Atlanta. I get that.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I would have went to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That's a hard stadium, right? It's an interesting play.
Jameis
by the league.
Played in Tampa for however long, so I don't think.
Yeah, but it's still like it's real grass.
Yeah.
I mean, cause it'd be one thing if this wasn't a Saints home game. But now they're giving up one of their home games and that advantage of the dome to play in an outdoor stadium in heat, and it's just a little bit different vibe. It'll just be interesting to see how that plays for them, and how many weeks they're not allowed to play at home, because that could be a huge disruption for them if they're traveling stadium to stadium. Because I'm here in DFW, and so they're practicing up here at TCU's facility, and that's an indoor facility, so it's just. So they're losing a home game, and then they're losing a home game that even feels more like a road game now. So it'll just be interesting to see how the Saints manage the adversity they're facing now.
I'm just surprised there's no Texas legislation, maybe like in Houston, to be like, we don't really have a team with the Texans. Why don't we just?
Well, hey, let me tell you, there's a 50
over Texans.
There's a good 45,000 seat stadium in San Antonio. It's a dome. The University of Texas San Antonio plays in. They could have went there and played there.
And I saw something where it had to be an NFL stadium. I'm not sure where.
Well, you're missing a team in Houston. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
New Orleans is not that far from Houston.
From Houston,
why they didn't go there
a lot of transplants there.
That's what
New
It's just interesting.
They're away week 2 and week 3. So after this, their next home game is week 4. So hopefully by October,
back.
Settled down in New Orleans, and they can do that. But we got to move on to Will's final winner of this preseason. We're not surprised. He's going to be talking about a Viking here. Go ahead, Will.
Well, man, you're not going to do
that. Chris Hendren, right? The trade. Look, I think it's a win. I think it's a win for him. I'm not sure it's a win for the Vikings because Irv Smith was having a good camp and a good preseason. But it's a win for him because I think, Kirk Cousins likes tight ends. And it'll be interesting to see. And fantasy perspective, I'm not sure I would run out and pick him up. I think Conklin from the Vikings.
In here.
There's always going to be the overreaction because everybody who thought Irv was going to have great numbers and drafted him are now trying to fill up. If I'm trying to fill up, I may go with the number 2 tight end in Minnesota with Conklin. Before. Yeah, it just he had a decent season last year. He just was he was third in the rotation. And Kirk is a systems guy, and he likes guys he has relationships with, right? Because think about Justin Jefferson's rookie season. Yes, it was a coaching staff issue, but it was also a Kirk issue. He didn't have the relationship with Justin until they got further into the season. You see him the way especially when there's pressure on him. He was looking for Rudolph. He was looking to either dump it to Dalvin or he was looking for Adam Thielen, right? And so I don't know if people, are looking at their waiver wire and like, oh, crap, I need a tight end. I'm not sure he's the clear favorite in Minnesota, but you'll know by week 3.
Yeah, I love the talent of Chris Herndon. I was high on him when he was in New York, but the Jets have really never utilized the tight end the way that they should. For the longest time, he did deal with some injuries, suspensions. But I think he's got the talent that the Vikings need for that position. He's a really good pass catcher. So we're going to see this is his opportunity to break out. And if he doesn't do anything this season with the Vikings, I think that's probably going to be it for him for a chance of starting. But I think he can. I'm excited to watch him at least.
The best part of that trade was the Jets had to convert 1.9 of his salary to immediate signing bonus. So the Vikings are only paying him. They gave him a 4th round pick, but they're paying him $900,000, and they got a 6th round pick back from the Jets. So for rental, if he was $2 million on the cap, I'd be a little irritated, to be honest with you. But for $900,000, veteran minimum, pretty much, okay.
Yeah, and like you said, it's kind of a rental. And if he does good, you guys, the Vikings can always bring him back, and I don't think that's out of the question either.
Yeah,
but
it'll be interesting.
I think this is really good for Herndon, and I think it fills a void that the Vikings needed once Irv Smith went down, especially now that he's going to be out 6 to 8 months, which could very well end his season, which would be unfortunate. But he's probably done for the season unless the Vikings start making a playoff push.
If Zimmer tells you 4, add another 4 to it. So, remember last year with Daniel Hunter, he's fine. Then he went on IR. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting season for the Vikings offense.
Yeah. Let's move on to the social media post of the week. I can keep you guys on here for this one. But we have a reporter saying how Gardner Minshew is talking about how nice the Philly fans are. And as you can see by the response, not everyone agrees with him about how nice Philly fans are. I'm not sure if he's saying that just to get in their good graces or if he's really just clueless about who Philadelphia Eagles fans are. But they're not the nicest people.
Let him throw an interception. That's all it's going to take. One interception, and he will find out what a true Philadelphia fan is.
So how long of a leash do any of the Philly quarterbacks have?
Well, I think the fans want Hurts to be the guy for sure. So I think he'll get a longer leash than Minshew will if Minshew has to step in. But if they're not doing well come mid-season, I can see them switching over to Minshew. But then if Minshew doesn't win games, the fans are going to absolutely hate him because the fans love Jalen Hurts. And if the fans can't have Jalen Hurts and the guy who's supposed to be replacing Jalen Hurts isn't winning them games, Minshew's going to feel the wrath of the Philadelphia Eagles fans.
I really don't see where people think that Minshew is a starter. I have no idea where people are getting this from. I'm looking at him in preseason, coming in against second and third stringers. He's throwing interceptions. I'm like, this is the same dude that you've been seeing start in Jacksonville for a couple of, for a few games. Dude is not a starter, man. Where you guys? I couldn't believe people were thinking there was a quarterback controversy
with him and Trevor Lawrence.
Traded for him, man. I was like, the dude is going there for strictly to be a backup.
Yeah,
and you better pray that he doesn't have to come in and play.
Yeah, I think he's kind of a fan favorite. So people tend to like him a little more with all his antics he's got going on and the mullet and everything.
Yeah,
I think that kind of plays into his favor, but he's definitely not a franchise quarterback, and I don't think he's a good starter. He started for the Jaguars, and then they ended up with the first overall pick. Exactly. So that should tell you pretty much what you need to know.
Flacco's on the team, right?
Yeah.
Flacco is on the team, yes.
See so they're moving Flacco. It don't make sense. Why do you have three quarterbacks?
And Flacco didn't play that bad during the preseason either.
Well, I would keep Flacco because Flacco is going to be a really good mentor for Hurts, especially throughout the season when Hurts starts to make some mistakes. Because Flacco's been there and Flacco's made mistakes. But he's got the experience. He's been dumped on. He's had the fans cheering for him. Flacco's a guy like Cam Newton where people are like, oh, he's not going to be a good mentor, but they've really been through it all. They've had the ups and downs throughout their career. Right. So I think he's the perfect mentor for Jalen Hurts, and I think they have to carry three quarterbacks. Now they traded for Minshew because Minshew's not going to be a great mentor for Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts isn't going to be
exactly.
They lack the experience at the quarterback position.
But then there's a bigger discussion about how crazy Philadelphia is as an organization because it would make no sense to trade for Minshew unless you thought you were keeping him from like the Cowboys, right? Because Philly's that type of organization. They would trade for somebody to keep Washington or the Cowboys or the Giants from getting him.
He might be one, though. I'd rather them go to the Cowboys and let him play when he's playing us.
I think the Eagles are just a mess as an organization. I think they have
the coaching staff is a disaster. Them and the Lions might be the worst two coaching staffs in the NFL right now.
They do have a new head coach. So we got to kind of see.
Did you see his press conference?
And they also should have fired their GM 3-4 seasons ago.
And you know what? I kind of get the Lions being a messed up organization because the ownership, to me, has always been disconnected from what it takes to run a team. That's not who the Eagles have been. And so for the life of me, I don't understand how the Eagles ended up here.
Right, because like last season when they pulled Jalen Hurts, and it was still a close game. They were only down by one score, and they pulled Jalen Hurts, so they lost the game. And they got a better pick, which screwed the Giants over from making the playoffs. I think the owner blamed Peterson, but Roseman probably told Peterson to do that.
Right.
I think they should have cleaned house completely, and they didn't. They kept Roseman.
But that's the problem with those owners, and those are the owners that I love when their team doesn't win. That's one of the reasons I still don't like the Detroit Lions because they never should have got rid of Jim Caldwell. This thing they had going for them for ages. The players loved him, everything. And you're going to fire this dude for thinking that you're getting the next Bill Belichick, and he absolutely sets your franchise back another 20 years.
All you have to do is sit the Lions say Matt Millen, and it just the look, they hired a guy out of the booth and made him a GM. And I feel bad for Detroit fans because come on, we always used to say like the Saint fans deserved it. If there's a team in the NFL right now that deserves a winning team, it's Detroit fans because they show up for those games. Yep. Thanksgiving Day, they're there. Their team is awful. They keep dealing with a front office that can't pick a coach. Like, how hard is it how do you not hire Eric Bieniemy? You know what I'm saying? I mean, and then you trade for Jared Goff. I mean, can you beat any?
They got the first round pick out of Jared Goff, though. They got Jared Goff and a first round pick, so I get that. Because
I don't. I honestly I don't, because they're trying to actually build around Jared Goff.
Yeah,
someone's delusional because you got a first round pick, but you gave up Matthew Stafford. It's not like you didn't have a quarterback. You have what some could argue is a Hall of Fame quarterback potentially, and you went to Jared Goff. I can understand it if, like, when Cleveland did it that one year, they took on the salary, salary, and then they cut him. Yeah, right, to get the pick. If Detroit had done that, I'd be like, oh, that was a good move. That's not what they're doing. They believe in Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And these poor Lion fans are probably, for another 3 years, why even go to the game?
They're in the same position that Browns fans were in for a while as well. But now the Lions need something to happen to them like the Browns had. A complete head office, revamp, and bring in a new coach. That's what they need to do.
And as sad as this may be for Detroit fans to say, at some point you have to have a conversation for the sake of the NFL, to be honest with you. I get there's a lot of advertising money from the Ford family and Ford Motor Cars. I'm not sure that's the right family to own this team anymore. And at some point you got to have that conversation, because Detroit's a great market. It just is. And those fans deserve better. And that for whatever reason, the Ford family seems unable to hire an executive to run this team.
Mm-hmm. And they've had lots of opportunities, and they've been losing for a while. They had Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. And they failed to put a team around those two.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fault Stafford. You can't fault Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Right.
They made Barry Sanders retire.
That kind of played into even Calvin Johnson just retiring after they got rid of Jim Caldwell. Man, it was a bright spot for them.
Yeah,
they actually almost went to
the playoffs.
What was it? They were in the playoffs, but they almost got the first round. Man, it was a bad call away.
Yeah,
huge bad call away. 2 bad calls. The one against my Seahawks. And another bad call. I think it was against Dallas or Green Bay. It was against Dallas.
Yeah, it was against Dallas.
It was a bad call. They actually should have won that game.
Yeah.
They would have been playing Green Bay. But then Dallas got paid back against Green Bay, so it all worked out. But oh well.
That's how the NFL works. One bad call equals another.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining again as guests, and I want to thank everyone for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and tune in next week. It's the Wednesday before the start of the season. So we're going to be breaking down some matchups on that show. It's going to be a show you don't want to miss, so make sure you guys tune in next week. And thanks again for watching.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.